Hey, stranger.
Hi. Okay, we're good.
Get all your props and everything out and ready.
Yeah, I can go grab them now. Okay. I forgot to do the strap last time, so we'll do it this time.
Were you talking about, you said you could use other things. You could use like belts and all that kind of good stuff as well, right?
Yeah, I meant to do that on the last video, and there's just so much that I never ended up getting to it, so. Hey, come here. Come here. Staring at me like.
Not going for it?
Yeah, I'm kind of big.
There you go. Oh my.
She's sleepy. I took her to nose hill today and she got into the burrs.
Well, it's also hot outside too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I took her in the morning, so it wouldn't have been too bad, but she's pretty dead.
Yes, I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm. She also had to have a shower, so she's not happy about it. Hey, Nuts. Okay, you stay. You stay.
Now I'm curious, Lauren, is your puppy come along and joining in all this as well?
Probably. Oh, sorry, I was just grabbing something. Yeah, she'll probably just lay here. Yeah, you big sleepy bear, hey? Well, yeah, we're supposed to have another puppy at the end of May, so she'll be happy to have a friend.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. No backyard and 2 dogs. This should be interesting.
Well, as long as the weather is getting nicer, that's going to be the good thing.
Yeah, well, and I take her out to the park every day, so it's no different for me. It's just she has more fun at home now.
I see Matthew's here. It looks like Doran just joined in. How are you, Doran? Can you hear us yet? Getting a few people in. That sounds good. Just coming up to starting time. It's 2:30. We'll give everybody another couple of minutes to join us here.
Oh, yeah,
there you go. You're going to introduce your spotter to everybody?
Yeah. I don't think she's going to be doing much spotting.
No, probably not, hey?
No. I can't believe how much of a suck she is these days.
It's interesting because all the animals are so used to. We have a dog and 2 cats, and it's amazing how they're used to us being around now. So I'm not sure how that'll all look kind of when all this kind of finishes up and everything. So
yeah, it'll be different for sure. I'm home pretty often, so it won't be too bad, but
very true.
You'll be good enough to be a studio doggo. You won't be so crazy. You can come to yoga with me.
Sweet, that's just got a little brother right there.
Okay, well, I think we can, you know what, it's 2:31, so we got a few people on board, so welcome everybody. My name is Kevin. I work with Taleo. I wanted to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I know we got a little waylaid last week. So thanks again for joining us, and thank you to Lauren again for being available to come on board and do this up for us again. Just a little reminder, I know from a Taleo point of view, that just to let everybody know that we are here It's challenging times. Everybody's going through all kinds of their own sort of personal challenges and difficulties. But feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have something you want to talk about, something you want to chat about. Any one of our team is available. So I'm sure if you give Matthew enough notice, I'm sure he might even be able to do a little grocery drop off and everything for you as well. So we do have a Taleo Connects YouTube channel that is available. I've been kind of dropping it in, sort of some of these messages that I've been sending out to everybody. So just to let you know that all these webinar series that we're doing for Taleo Connects are being recorded. So we're dropping them on the YouTube channel as well. And you are also available to get a half a PDU for attending this event as well as any other subsequent ones that we have coming forward. So with that said, I wanted to introduce Lauren. She is, as we said, she's a full-time yoga instructor. She's kind of been doing, over the chats that I've had with her, she's been doing this for quite a bit now on the sort of distance or remote learning sequences. So a little bit of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today is just going to be really important for everybody's health going forward. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Lauren, so that you can kind of take on everything and get started. I'll pass over the reins to you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, hi everyone. So I just sent out, or Kevin might have sent out that video. It was about an hour long, but it was really just full body mobilization. I know with working from home, we're not typically in ergonomic maybe seats or desks. We just had to shift up some patterns. And the biggest thing that we see with yoga is why a lot of people land in yoga is it gives us an opportunity to shift out of those patterns. So when we are always in a certain shape of the body, and we're still learning so much more about this, there's a thing called fascia. So it's something that up until, I want to say, the 1980s, when they were doing autopsies, they actually just scraped it away and threw it out. And this is because they were doing autopsies on bodies that had already been preserved. So the fascia, it got kind of ruined. So when they started to do autopsies on frozen bodies, they started to realize that there was this whole system of fascia that connects. So it's kind of like spider webbing of your muscles, your connective tissues, every fiber of your body basically is covered in fascia. And so a big part of what happens when we don't move the fascia, actually, if you want to watch a really funny video from, I want to say it's like the 90s or 80s, it's called Where's the Fuzz? It was with Gil Headley. He's the one who kind of has sparked this interest in what fascia is. And it's basically when you don't move your body, you have layers of muscle and they start to get fuzz. So when you move them, like when you move your shoulders up, down, around, you're massaging out that fuzz and you're essentially melting it away. When we get stuck, so you sit at your desk for hours like this, and then you get up, it feels creaky. That's because you've started to grow that fuzz. So you grow it overnight, you grow it through habits and patterns, and that fuzz is essentially fascia that's building up. So you can think of it almost as scar tissue in a sense. And the less that we move through it, the worse it's going to get. So that's why yoga is super important, because it just makes us move outside of our habits and patterns. You know, even if it feels sticky to take your arms overhead, I guarantee you do that 10 times. By the 10th time, it's going to feel a little bit more smooth. So that's kind of the idea. So that's probably my biggest thing for anyone working from their desk is move. My husband is an engineer, so he's been working full days just sitting at his desk. And he said to me last night that he had meetings from 8 until 12. And he was like, yeah, I just sat at my desk. And I was sitting there like, what are you doing? I was like, go do yoga. If you don't need, your computer, sit on the floor and, take your legs out long, roll your shoulders and like be in your meeting with your phone. Even if you're just sitting at your desk to just, move your neck, your shoulders, your head. So that would be my number one is move. So set an alarm every hour that you get up from your desk and you do some movement. And if it feels sticky, rule of thumb is you should probably keep working that area. Stickiness is a sign that you've been stuck there for too long and you need to release. One of the things I didn't do in that video, but I wanted to show you, and it's super accessible. You can buy yoga straps online. You can buy them at studios around the city. They're really, really cheap. They're like $10. And I love this. And actually my husband has used it for quite a few years. But basically I call it my little jet pack, but it's for when your shoulders are rolling forward. So when we start to get this slouch shape, this technique I find just works really good to bring us into that posture where we're stacking our bones. So you can always try it with a belt. Your belt's gonna have to be pretty long. You might be able to connect 2 belts together if you just want to see it. Or you can always just grab a towel and just so you kind of understand what it is and what it's doing. So if you want to grab a towel, you can definitely go do that. Just like a regular size towel will work. And so what you'll do is you'll take it over top. If you want to turn on your cameras too, you're welcome to, so I can see if you're doing it correctly and give you some tips if not. So basically you wrap it around your neck like you would a scarf, and then you wrap it underneath your armpits, okay? So once it's under your armpits, you begin to cross the 2 ends of the strap or the towel, so you create an X on your back. And then what you do is, now that the straps are crossed, you wrap them in front. And this is why the yoga strap is really nice, because it doesn't really matter the length. So with mine, it's just super easy. It's just a little, I don't even know what to call this, a D ring. And you just pull it tight. So what this actually does is, if it's not tight enough, I can roll my shoulders forward, no problem. But if I pull it tight enough, it's holding my shoulders back. So as soon as I start to round forward, it cuts into my armpits, which, I mean, doesn't sound great. But what it's really nice for is you're going to feel it as soon as you start to do this. And then it's like, oh yeah, reminder. So it's really just a reminder to keep your bones stacked instead of rolling forward and rounding. Because if you do this, you're going to create a lot of tension on these muscles, because these muscles are having to work really hard because they're trying to pull you back in alignment, and you're going to get really tight through the chest. So a good rule of thumb, if you're going to try this, put it on for an hour. And that hour is just to remind you. So it's essentially creating a new habit or a pattern. And this one's really good if you're just seated for an hour. When I was doing teacher trainings, we did 200 hours for a yoga teacher training, and probably 100 of those hours was in lectures. So seated on a hard wood floor in the middle of Costa Rica. And let me tell you, with no backing support or chairs or anything, you just started to totally roll forward. So this was one of the ways that a lot of us use to just keep yourself in alignment. In regards to alignment, biggest thing with that when you're at your desk, rule of thumb, stack your bones. So your skeleton, when it's stacked properly, bones on top of bones or joints on top of joints, your muscles don't have to do the work to hold you up because your body will. So the anatomical position that we're used to is what we call in yoga Tadasana. But when you look at the body, the shoulder is stacked over top of the ribs, over the hips, over the feet. And you can even do this and just play, you know, if you're in this shape and you start to send your hips out in front of you, notice how much more wobbly you are and how much effort that is for the low back and the hamstrings to actually pull you back so you don't just fall forward. Even if you just start to take more weight into your feet, feel your hamstrings tighten up. So that's just kind of showing you, and if you lean back, you're gonna feel your quads engage. So anytime that you're not stacking your bones, your muscles are having to work way, way, way harder to put yourself back in that alignment. So that's why shoulders get really sore, because when we're hinging forward, the shoulders are trying to pull back. Same with the low back. If you're creating that really big arc in your low back because you're leaning forward, it's trying to bring itself back here. So there's a lot of tension going on. For shoulders in particular, movement that you can do, shoulder circles are great. Hands onto knees or thighs at your desk, or you can take hands onto your shoulders and draw circles with your elbows. So elbows in, up, out, and down. Anything like this, even just doing, you know, 8 in one direction, then 8 in another, it might even feel like a lot of work because what you're doing, you're isolating your upper arm bone in the shoulder socket. So it's a ball and socket joint. So if this is your upper arm bone, this is your shoulder, and basically you're just rotating this. So all of those stabilizer muscles, all of those rotator muscles are starting to move and you're melting the fuzz in that joint. Neck is really important too. Your trap muscles are, I'm not sure, they might be the biggest muscle in your body, but they basically go almost all the way down the T-spine and they connect up here. So it's the trapezius, it's named after a trapezoid shape. So it draws out to your shoulder, down your back, connects all the way up the spine. So that's a major muscle. And there's actually 3 parts of the traps. So this is one that anytime you're rounding forward and you're lifting the shoulders, it's gonna get really, really tight. Even just fascia massage of taking your hand over top of your shoulder, gripping with your fingertips and just beginning to move your hand forward. Anything like that can even just be nice, or you can even grip and hold like you're squeezing it and then relax into the shoulder completely and just take a couple of breaths and then let that go. Okay, so that's the fascia again. I think I showed this to you on the other one, but basically fascia, if you have it'll probably work better with this, okay. So if you imagine that this is the fascia covering my muscles, and right now it's really relaxed because there's nowhere that it's gripping. But if all of a sudden I start to roll forward, now all of those muscles in the back of my body are having to work. They're starting to tense. So it starts to ball up and create those knots or those tense areas that feel really sticky. So what it does is this, but as it creates that knot, it actually pulls on that entire layer of the body. So this is where you'll see the left hip will start to cause problems. It'll be sore or it feels out or it's clicking. And it's not actually the left hip, it's the right shoulder. So this might explain some of those times where you're like, oh, I don't know why my lower back is sore. I'm not doing anything to my low back. It could be your upper traps. It could be your feet. So this is why just full body mobilization. That last video went from the feet all the way up to the shoulders and to the neck. Neck, just be really mindful. Neck muscles have to be really strong. Your head is surprisingly heavy. So when you are at a desk seated, a lot of times, and I know I was really guilty of this, I used to work in interior design and architecture with CAD drawings, and I would lean forward trying to look at them. And it was so much strain to the back of my neck because your head is actually really, really heavy. So when you take your head out of alignment and take it forward, all of these muscles are working really, really hard. I think your head is 12 pounds, the average human head, which when you think about it is a pretty good portion of our weight, especially for the muscles of our neck, which aren't meant to be weight bearing. They're used for rotation, they're used for mobility, not really meant to be bearing the weight of our head forward or our head back. So when you are doing neck stretches, 30 seconds to 60 seconds should be pretty good. And then the fascia is just, you can almost flesh it out. So it's like a massage for the surface of your skin. This is where rolling will come in really handy. My dog stole my ball. So any rolling techniques where you can even just take a ball and roll it along your arm or on your shoulder. It doesn't have to be deep. And that's the thing about fascia. It's not about deep tissue. It's those like surrounding the muscles. Some of the things that we did in that last video of the fascia was the rolling out the calves. One of my favorites, I didn't show you guys, it's fun, it's a bit uncomfortable, is the quads. So if you have yoga blocks, again, super cheap to buy, really great. If you have, you can also take books and wrap them in blankets or in pillows, and you basically lay over top of it and then you just flex and point your foot. And it's like a deep tissue massage for the quad muscles, which are, for most people sitting, going to be super, super tight. And then I just figured I'd go through a couple of my favorite yoga poses. for opening up. Biggest ones I see are neck, chest, and then low back. So a movement one, and you can try this if you want. You just get down on the ground, on your belly, okay, and then walk your hands out wide. So your hands aren't underneath your elbows, they're wider than your elbows, and then you're tented up onto all 10 fingertips, kind of like little spider legs, or picture your favorite dessert underneath the palm of your hand, and you don't want to crush it by putting your palms down. Okay, so it's also really good for strengthening the fingers. And then it's like you're peeling your body up from the ground like a wave. So you'll begin to lift your head up, then your chest, and then your belly, but you'll lift the gaze up last, and then roll your right shoulder forward towards the center, and you'll look over to the left. So your right cheek comes down. And then when you inhale, you'll lift back up through center, and you'll roll your left shoulder forward. Okay. And you're just gonna do this a couple of times. Now, if this is a lot for your low back, instead of your toes being together, take your feet out quite wide, and you're just gonna continue. It's almost like a dance. Again, it's that mobility, but now you're stretching out the front of your pecs. So you're gonna get that space into the chest. So you can do this, I'd say about 3 to 5 times for each shoulder. That can be nice. And then you can just come back down. Take your hands down beside you, palms face up, and let your spine rest for about 3 to 5 breaths. Okay. The next one is for the low back, which would be nice after this, is just to place your hands underneath your shoulders. So you'll push up to a tabletop shape, walk your big toes together, walk your knees wide. So you kind of this shape with the legs, and then you just take your hands forward and drape your body. So child's pose. It's a fairly well-known one that even if you don't do yoga, you might have heard of it. The difference with child's pose is there's 2 different intentions. So one is the low back, where your body is completely relaxed. So it's not about the length of the spine. You can bend your elbows to support your head, or I even like if you have pillows, you can take pillows, or this is called a bolster, it's just a bit more of a firm pillow underneath your body. So if you look at the spine, it's curved and rounded, which earlier I was saying you don't want to curve and round the spine, but here you're supported. So the muscles aren't doing work to pull you back, they're relaxing. So it's almost like the muscles are melting away from their connections of the bones. And it's like if the muscles are gripped tight to contract and hold you in place, that tight fist is just beginning to open to an open palm. So you can picture your muscles kind of doing that. If this is a lot for your knees, this is where you can take pillows behind the backs of your knees, so on top of your calves, and then it'll be the same pose, but you'll just have that extra support there. If you want to find more length in the spine, same pose, but instead of rounding, so this will be less for the low back, more for the shoulders, is just walking your fingertips forward. And then letting your head rest heavy. And then grip with your fingertips, almost like you're trying to draw, to almost like pick up the earth. And then keep your hands pressing down, and you slide your shoulders away from your ears towards your tailbone. So shoulders might be hiked up, and then you just begin to melt them down. Okay, so those are a couple of my favorite for the shoulders and for the lower back. And then finally, for the chest, a nice one, even if you can't, you know, lie on the floor, to go up to a wall. And there's a couple of options. So you can start at the wall and you just take your arm out to a T shape, and then you just start to roll yourself away from the wall, so that you're gonna get this stretch all the way down the inner line of the arm and across the chest. You can also do this with a cactus arm or diamond shape, and then the intensity just depends how far away from the wall you're rolling. This can be done on the ground. It's just a little bit, you know, you might not be able to do a meeting necessarily like this. I mean, maybe you can, not sure. But yeah, so that's a really nice one for the chest. So why I explain those in particular, really, really quickly, the fascia of your body, it goes in lines. So there's the front line, which will be tops of the feet, shins, quads, core muscles, pecs, up through, this is your SCM, so your sternum, collarbone, and mastoid, sternocleidomastoid, and then into the skin of your head. The back line is the bottoms of the feet, calf, hamstrings, all along the back, so the erector spinae up through the rhomboids, and then into the head again. And then lateral line is the pinky toe edge coming up through the side of the shins. This is your IT band. Into the glutes is going to be lateral line, up through the obliques, the shoulders, and then again into that SCM. So SCM is involved in a lot of these lines, the muscles here and the scalenes, and that's where they'll get really tight if one of those lines is out, but if both of those lines is out, it's going to be super, super tight. So this is where if we open the chest, this entire line of the body releases, which will release the back, which is the shoulders. So if your shoulders are tight, look at your chest. Your chest is probably the problem. That's the biggest thing that I see. And then same with low back. We're often just creating a really big dip in our low back because we're not engaging our core. So a big thing is to focus just on core engagement. I think of that, draw your hip bones to your ribs. So it's a pulling up. And you'll notice that that dip in my tailbone, as you pull up, that now flattens out. A lot of people say flatten this, it's weird, but if you take your hands here, you'll feel that pulling up and it's a contraction of your core. Yeah, that was a huge long rant and I feel like I didn't even get through everything, but I hope that those kind of help. One more final thing you can do in child's pose that's going to be the opposite to stretch out the shoulders is just to thread one arm underneath. So it's a bit of a twist. So that same pose we were in here, you'll take one of your arms under your body, palm faces up, and that's going to get you into the rhomboids, which is that space just between the shoulder blades. And if that's what's kind of sore, another good one is eagle arms. So you just wrap one elbow under the other, so your arms are opposite sides. You can look like you're giving yourself a big hug, reaching for opposite shoulders, or you can take backs of hands together. You can hook the thumbs, or you can bring palms together. And this one you can do seated or standing. And I just like to move. So you take your fingertips up high, and then you curl and round in. And it's like you're drawing your elbows to your belly button. And you're lifting and you're lowering. And you'll immediately feel that. That's your upper traps. And then rhomboids and levator muscles are the ones that pick up your shoulders. So that movement will help with that. Okay.
That's awesome, Lauren. I know it's so much to cram in such a short period of time. So it's such a super big challenge. I did want to leave a couple minutes because I do want to be mindful of everybody's time. Just if you do have any questions, just to maybe do a quick, drop them in the chat line, or if you want to pop off your microphone and everything like that's too. I know to get everything started, I know one of the things, Lauren, that you and I were speaking about was fluids and water in intake. So from your point of view, sort of on a daily basis, how much water should we be drinking? Because I don't think anybody's really drinking enough water.
You should drink 2 liters of water, I would say. So 2 of these a day. I believe it's 8 cups, which I think is about 2 liters. It depends. If you're more active, you'll want more. But yeah. No, coffees and Baileys does not include water. I know, I try to use that too. Neither does beer. But yeah, like you said, biggest thing, nice in the morning, just chug a bunch of water. Add lemons to it if you want. That can help to kickstart digestion. Yeah, or even just like at your meals, before you have your meal, have a cup of water and you're already 3 cups down.
I know one of the things you were talking about is you said that it's probably a good idea to be getting up once every hour or so. So, when you're talking about getting up that once an hour, what would you say would be like the top 3 things that you should be doing, and for how long, on a daily basis?
Okay, so I would say your chest. So the one that I showed you at the wall, to do that 30, 60 seconds, or if you go between a door, you have the panels of the door frame, just take your arms up to the door and then walk through. So you're getting that opening of the chest. Again, hold 30 to 60 seconds. So that's gonna give you that opening here. I'm gonna say quads too. So because you're always sitting like this, these muscles are contracting. So even just to stand and do the opposite. So think about any way that you're sitting, you want to do the opposite. So you're contracting here when you're sitting, being like this. So now you want to stretch that out. when you're bad posture, you're rolling forward, so you want to stretch out the chest. Lunges are also really nice. If you just take a knee down and send that hip forward and hold for about 30 seconds, that can be really nice for quads too. So you just want to think about stretching out. The biggest thing I think, because you're sitting, is stretching out the front line of the body, and then maybe a fold. If you could just come into this. This is a decompression of the spine. So you take a really deep bend in your knees, and then just let gravity do the work. You can also do this in your seat on your desk, but just try to completely relax your upper body and spine.
And then with the strap that you were talking about, because I really like those kind of shoulder openers. I think that's really important. For how long do you think it's a good idea to kind of leave that on for?
I usually do about an hour, because I find that that's a pretty good, it's a good indication throughout the hour. You kind of create a habit. I wouldn't leave it on for like the whole day, because you also don't want the muscles to stop working, because the strap is holding you there. So you want it tight enough that that you're feeling it if you roll forward, but not so tight that your muscles aren't holding you back. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're just coming up to 3 o'clock. So once again, I know I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Thank you once again. And Lauren, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this is wonderful. It's nice to have the puppy kind of rolling by and everything like that. Kind of keeps it real for everybody too. I think everybody has lots of stuff at home to kind of relate to all those types of things. So once again, thank you very, very much, everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe. Please let us know once again if we can help you out with anything else on the Taleo side of things. And we look forward to speaking with you all very, very soon. Okay.
Thanks, you guys, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Timer going on.
So she always steals my shoes.
Hey, Lauren, I gotta ask you, where did you do your YTT?
I did my first one in Costa Rica with Marianne Williamson.
Yeah.
She's a teacher from Minnesota. And then I did my 300 hours with Kate Mack at Junction 9 in Inglewood.
Gotcha. No, I just asked because when you said Costa Rica, because I lived in Costa Rica for about 8 years. So I was just kind of wondering, so.
Yeah, we were at the Goddess Gardens. It's, I think, by Kuita. It's on the East Coast.
It must be the East Coast.
I'm trying to think what the town, there's a town right by it that a lot of people know. But yeah, it was like in the middle of nowhere. We were at it, like it was a retreat that's pretty much full eco retreat. So
awesome. Yeah, I lived on the other side. I lived in a little town called Nosada, which is very famous for its
that's the yoga town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't actually been to that side. I'd love to go, but we'll see. We're looking at doing international retreats. So we had one in Dubai this year, but we'll see if that goes.
It was pretty cool because in that little town that I lived in, the yoga teacher training course was, it started by Robin Williams about 20 or 25 years ago. It was pretty cool.
Wild.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I think you have to kind of cut us off here. So, but thank you very much. Can't thank you enough. And it was awesome as always. So thanks again for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Please see you.
Okay. Bye.